Hi everyone and welcome to my boss guide for the Beast in the Eyes. This is one of the updated level 200 Tormented bosses that we received in Season 4. I've also covered all of the other boss guides already, and I think this is probably the hardest, or one of the hardest at least. So Blizzard has really juiced up this boss, and it's kind of a struggle to take him down if you don't have a super overpowered build. One important mechanic to be aware of for all of those Tormented bosses is this stacking damage taken debuff. You see this here right now, this red skull icon there. If you get hit by certain abilities, you ramp up extra damage taken for the rest of the encounter. So you want to try to avoid those abilities so that you don't just die from even auto attacks. Without these stacks, the boss is not really that dangerous. However, you have to dodge those abilities in order to succeed the fight, because it may last multiple minutes, and if you ramp up the damage, then it's over. You can maybe afford to take like 1, 2, or 3 of those hits, and after that you basically fail. And in addition to that, Beast in the Eyes only has 4 resurrections, because this is a nightmare dungeon. This is not like other bosses where I can just try over and over and over, so you better pay attention. The Beast in the Eyes fight is all about dodging certain ground effects, really. So his auto attacks don't really hurt you much, but there are a lot of things that he throws at you or throws on the ground, or that just shoots through the arena, like those ice rays, for example, in the intermission phases, that you have to dodge or else you will die. So those are also all of the abilities that give you those extra tormented stacks that I just explained. For example, here in this intermission phase, those rays that come here, they will hit you, they will throw you into this storm outside, which also kills you very quickly, even without any stacks. And they will do a lot of damage and push you in there with an extra stack. So every time you get hit by one of those, you will get a stack, and that will usually mean the end of the encounter for you. Those intermission phases happen twice, so there's one at I think 66% and one at 33%, and you kind of like break the fight into 3 parts like this. The first part being very easy, there's no storm yet even, so you have a lot of space. And then in the last part of the encounter, this storm stays permanently. So for the last third, you always have the storm, and you have very little space in the arena to work with to dodge mechanics. So this is something to be aware of. If you can somehow increase your damage in the last stage of the fight, then this is definitely recommended, because you can maybe stagger him and just like nuke him down, for example, before he ever does anything in the last phase. Now for those ice rays, the easiest way to dodge them is to mostly stand in the middle of the arena and wait for the animations to spawn. There's always 4 lines, and one of them is empty here. So this can come in any direction from any side, and if you're standing in the middle, you have usually just a very short distance to get to a safe spot. You can actually just like evade into the right direction like this, and you are safe. If you stand somewhere here on the bottom part of the arena, and then you get like 4 rays that cover the entire bottom, you might not have enough time to actually run to a safe spot. So standing in the middle while you're waiting for those rays to come is the easiest solution to dodge them. Next up, we have the dance phase. So there's this animation right now where Beast in the Eyes throws his sword into the ground in front of him and channels those ground explosions here as you run. So you want to try to avoid getting hit by any of those, because each hit here also gives you a tormented stack. So this is like one of the hardest mechanics to avoid, and I will show this again. So it happens 4 times, and then the last one has a double explosion. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see there's a double one. They come right after another, exactly on top of each other, but they have a bit of like a slightly offset angle. So you need to try to run out of those beams and also not run into the second beam that you can see there. So I can show the last one again. It's usually pretty simple to run away from them and just kind of like sidestep a little bit. But in this case, if you sidestep too far, you will either get hit by this or by this, and you have to make sure that you kind of use this little space in between. There is also another way to play this actually, which is something that I didn't think about when I did this fight myself, but this is here from the hardcore boss race by Debuff. So he actually found a really nice strategy around this as well, which is hugging the pillar. Unfortunately, this doesn't work in the last phase because you permanently have a storm, but here you can kind of just like dance around the pillar, and the pillar will block the ice rays, as you can see. You just need to make sure that for the last one, maybe you have like a movement skill or an evade ready, or like an immunity, for example, because the last double hit might potentially hit you. If you want to just run away and dodge it like I did here, you need to have quite a lot of movement speed. So it's recommended that you have at least 50-60% movement speed bonus, I would say, just to be able to like dodge all of this much more easily. Or you do the pillar strat, but again, it won't really help you much in the last phase, because you can't actually go to the pillars and run around them. You see here, the storm covers them in the back. There are also other effects that can give you a stack and do a lot of damage, like this crash down here, for example. Sometimes Beast in the Eyes just like goes up in the air and then crashes down again. You also want to make sure to get out of this circle here. It's like this big circle. You have to like run away really fast or evade out of it, because this does a lot of damage and gives you the stacks. So make sure that you're aware that whenever he goes up in the air, he will come down and you have to get out of there. The same also applies to this multi-slam ability that he does here. So he slams the ground a few times, similar to like one of those Herald, Scourge dungeon bosses. And you have these multiple impact locations here. They all also give you a stack and can do a lot of damage. So you want to make sure that you stay on your toes and run out of these. Again, like an evade or a dash or so can do this quite easily, as long as you don't actually run into the next one at the same time. But in short, every ground effect that you can see in this fight is the most dangerous, and you have to avoid them at all costs. All of these give you those tormented stacks. All of the other abilities that he does, like his normal attacks and the adds, also are not that dangerous. However, some of these adds actually have a lot of damage, in particular the elites that spawn in the second intermission phase. They can actually hit you like a truck, and they can also freeze you. And you also have those lunatics here in the intermission phases, so they can potentially blow you up as well. Gotta be careful with those. Good thing is though that these adds always spawn exactly in the same place. So you see this here, this is the second intermission phase, and then you have those two elites spawning. There's always one here on the top left, one on the bottom right, and after that come the lunatics. And you can actually prepare for that. For example, here I set my trap. I got myself ready with combo points. I got myself ready with, you know, my cooldowns up and so on. And then you just burst them down. And then when the lunatics come, they don't have much HP. They just kind of die in the crossfire, but you need to make sure that you don't get hit. And as you enter the last phase of the encounter, where the boss is really low, you can see this here right now, the last 40% or so, you have a permanent storm, and you also have the rays still coming. So they kind of stay for the rest of the encounter, which is part of the reason why you want to try to burst him down at the end. If you can get a stagger ready, for example, for this last phase, this can really help you out. And also here, you don't really have much space to dodge those incoming ground effects anymore. So you can't really hug the pillars, you can't really do like a big circle like previously, and instead you have to play it smooth, dodge those rays, and then you take down the boss. Overall, I think Beast in the Eyes is my favorite encounter, maybe tied with Andariel. I like both of these a lot, but it's definitely one of the hardest ones. So as long as you pay attention to those ground effects, you will get through this fight, depending on your DPS, depending on your survivability. This is definitely the hardest part of the encounter. The rest is kind of okay, I would say. But dodging those patterns can be kind of tough, especially in the last phase, where a lot of stuff is going on at the same time, with the boss being active, those rays coming from the sides, the storm preventing you from going very far, and so on. So this is really where the difficulty ramps up. But you do have ample opportunity to kind of practice the mechanics, either in the normal boss fight. You can just go into the low-level version of this encounter and try it out for yourself and try to dodge those mechanics, and then you can go to Tormented and show off your skills. And that also concludes this boss guide here, so hope this helps you. I wish you good luck with taking on those Tormented versions. Otherwise, hope you enjoy the season, and see you guys next time.